For most of World War II, Brazil was not supposed to be here. Not in Italy, not in the mountains, not on the front line. To American soldiers already fighting across Europe, Brazil existed on the margins of the war, a distant country, a strategic location, a supplier of raw materials, not a combat force. And yet, by 1945, American officers would quietly admit something unexpected. Brazil's army had surprised them. When the war began, Brazil was militarily unremarkable. Its army lacked modern equipment. Its officers had little combat experience. Its soldiers trained for internal security, not European warfare. Even Allied planners did not expect Brazil to send troops overseas. They expected bases, airfields, ports, not men. Inside the U.S. Army, Brazil was rarely discussed as a fighting force at all, and that assumption would follow Brazilian soldiers all the way to Italy. Brazil did not enter the war out of ambition. It entered out of shock. In 1942, German submarines began sinking Brazilian merchant ships off the coast. Entire crews vanished. Civilians died. Public anger exploded. Crowds demanded action. Newspapers demanded revenge. For the first time, the war no longer felt distant. Brazil declared war on the Axis. But the real surprise came next. Brazil did not stop at declarations. It chose to send soldiers across an ocean into a war already decided by many. The Brazilian Expeditionary Force was assembled under pressure, and it showed. Soldiers arrived with mixed uniforms. Equipment varied by unit. Some rifles dated back decades. Many recruits had never left their hometowns. Some had never seen a mountain. Almost none had seen snow. American observers noticed immediately. Quiet conversations followed. Could these troops survive Italy? Italy was a shock in every sense. Cold mornings, mud that swallowed boots, mountains that punished mistakes. Brazilian soldiers struggled at first. American troops watched carefully, not mockingly, not cruelly, but skeptically. They had seen underprepared units before. They did not expect Brazil to be different. Before the war, Brazilians mocked the idea of fighting overseas. It's more likely a snake will smoke a pipe. So when Brazil joined the war, soldiers turned the insult into identity. A smoking snake became their emblem. American troops noticed something strange. These men were joking about the war, not because they took it lightly, but because humor kept them steady. That alone was unexpected. Early engagements were small. Patrols, skirmishes, defensive positions. Brazilian units learned quickly. They adapted to terrain faster than expected. They followed orders closely. They did not break under pressure. American units began revising assumptions, not openly, but quietly. German intelligence had not prepared for Brazilians. Reports mentioned unfamiliar insignia, unexpected accents, unusual tactics. German prisoners reportedly asked the same question. Who are these soldiers? They did not expect Brazilians to be here. They did not expect them to fight this way. Monte Castello became the test. Initial assaults failed. Losses mounted. Cold intensified. Morale was tested. American commanders watched closely. This was where underprepared units usually collapsed. The Brazilians did not. They regrouped, adjusted tactics, returned to the fight. When Monte Castello finally fell, something changed. Brazil was no longer treated as symbolic. It was treated as dependable. Beyond combat, Brazilians surprised Americans in small, human ways. They carried coffee into combat zones. They shared it freely. They sang under fire. Morale did not collapse. It spread. American soldiers noticed how Brazilian troops bonded with Italian civilians. They were approachable, respected, welcomed. This mattered more than strategy. By war's end, Brazilian forces had captured over 20,000 Axis soldiers, secured entire sectors of the front, fought alongside U.S. divisions without special handling. They were no longer Brazilian units. They were just units. And that was the point. When the war ended, Brazil returned home quietly. No parades in Europe, no lasting headlines. In American memory, the Italian campaign moved on. But among those who fought there, the surprise remained. Brazil had not been expected to matter, and yet it had. History does not always turn with explosions. Sometimes it turns when assumptions fail. American soldiers did not expect Brazil's army to fight well. They were wrong. And in that quiet realization, history snapped. Not loudly, but permanently.